Family Recipe, this is Ann.
Hi, and welcome to Ann's Family Recipe. Today we're continuing my Office Eats series by honoring Stanley Hudson's favorite day of the year, Pretzel Day. And I made for you these incredible little pretzel nuggets and my mom's amazing hot fudge sauce. For the pretzel dough, I started with 1.5 cups of warm water in the bowl of my stand mixer. Then to that, I added 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar and 2 teaspoons of coarse sea salt. Next, I added 1 packet of active dry yeast. And if you buy your yeast in bulk, that's the same as 2¼ teaspoons. And then I popped the bowl onto the stand mixer and just mixed it around for a few seconds with the dough hook attachment, just to kind of incorporate everything. Then I stopped the mixer and allowed it to sit for a few minutes so that the yeast would get kind of foamy and activate. Next, I melted half a stick of unsalted butter in the microwave and allowed it to cool for a few minutes. Next, I'm measuring out 4½ cups of all-purpose flour. And then I drizzled in the half a stick of melted butter. Then I returned the bowl to the stand mixer with the hook attachment, locked it in place, and turned it on low to start so flour wouldn't go everywhere. And then I gradually increased the speed a little bit so that the dough would incorporate together. Now you can see that not all of it was coming off at the bottom of the mixing bowl, so I added in a little bit of extra flour, 1 tablespoon at a time. And when all was said and done, I ended up needing an additional ½ cup of flour. The amount of flour you need is always going to vary a little bit. It just depends on what the weather's like that day, the kind of humidity in the air. Dough can be a little bit temperamental that way, but you just want to go by the feel. So it should end up being nice and soft, not sticky, and when you press on it, it bounces back a little bit. So now I took the dough out of my mixing bowl and poured just about a tablespoon of olive oil inside. I coated the dough with the olive oil and then covered the mixing bowl with a tea towel to allow it to rise for about an hour. Once the dough had risen, it was time to make pretzels. So I had to prepare a couple things in advance. First, I lined a sheet pan with parchment paper and sprayed it with baking spray. And I also filled my Dutch oven with water and 2/3 a cup of baking soda. And I started bringing that up to a boil. For the pretzels, I placed my dough on the work surface and kind of formed it into an even ball. And then I used my little bench scraper here, which you can totally just use a knife too. I just have this handy tool, so I like to use it. And I divided the dough into 6 pretty much equal parts. To form the pretzel nuggets, I first rolled each piece of dough into a long rope, and it was about 1 inch thick, give or take. And then I used my bench scraper again, or a knife, to cut the dough into 1-inch pretzel nuggets. Then I took 1 batch of nuggets at a time and popped them into the boiling water for about 30 seconds and then used my kitchen spider, or you could use a slotted spoon, to remove them to the parchment-lined sheet pan. Just be sure to drain off as much excess water as you can. Before baking my pretzel nuggets, I whisked together 1 egg with a tablespoon of water and lightly brushed it over the tops of each pretzel nugget. This helps them get that kind of shiny coating on the outside and enhances that deep golden brown color too. I also got my coarse sea salt back out and generously sprinkled the tops of all of my pretzels. These baked at 450 degrees for about 14 to 15 minutes until they were a nice deep golden brown. And because you can't go wrong with just a little more butter, I melted a couple tablespoons of unsalted butter and brushed it all over the tops. So as you may remember, the guy at the pretzel stand on Pretzel Day offers 18 different toppings. So Michael Scott chooses to get the works, which is all 18. I didn't think they all sounded like they'd taste good together, so I didn't want to make all of them today, but I will read the list to you. They had sweet glaze, cinnamon sugar, chocolate, white chocolate, fudge, M&Ms, caramel dip, mint chip, chocolate chip, marshmallows, nuts, toffee nuts, coconut, peanut butter drizzle, Oreo sprinkles, cotton candy bits, and powdered sugar.
And of course that leads to Michael having a crazy sugar rush and dancing in his office later and then crashing at the end of the day. So today I thought it would be fun to show you my mom's homemade hot fudge recipe. It tastes super decadent, really rich and chocolatey, and I thought it'd be the perfect topping from the list of 18 toppings to include for our pretzel nuggets. So on the stove I have a small skillet with about a half a stick of unsalted butter in it, and it's melting over just kind of medium-low heat. And I'm adding 3/4 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips. And I'll just stir that together until it melts.
To this, I added 2/3 cup of granulated white sugar, and I should have switched over to a whisk at this point because you really want to make sure that that sugar kind of dissolves and everything is melted. And then I added the whole can of evaporated milk, and it only calls for 2/3 cup. So I kind of remedied the situation by a little over doubling all the other ingredients, but now I have a lifetime supply of hot fudge on hand. So I don't know what to do with it all, but it still turned out amazing. It tastes fabulous. But for accurate measurements, be sure to refer to my recipe in the description box below.
So now I'm bringing this chocolatey mixture to a boil, and once that happens, I'll reduce the heat to low and allow it to simmer for about 8 minutes, stirring pretty much constantly. My hot fudge has cooled and thickened up a little bit. My pretzels have been buttered and they're ready to go. So now I get to give this a taste. So good. Oh my goodness. These pretzel nuggets turned out so good. They're nice and golden and crispy and super buttery on the outside, and then doughy and just delicious on the inside. They're amazing. And you have to get that coarse sea salt or kosher salt to sprinkle over the top because it's the perfect contrast to this hot fudge sauce, which is such a simple recipe, but it's amazing. It's kind of like something you would expect to get at like an old-fashioned Sunday shop. It's really rich and creamy, very, very chocolatey. And if you don't use all of your hot fudge sauce with these pretzel nuggets, you can put it in an airtight container and save it for a few days in the fridge and use it on desserts or whatever you want throughout the week.
Now you don't have to wait another 364 days till the next pretzel day.
Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more episodes of The Office Eats. Thank you so much for joining me here in my kitchen, and I'll see you again soon with another family recipe.